Her secret spellbook at dawn. The first rays of sunlight hadn't yet touched the village when Elara crept down the creaking stairs of her grandmother's cottage. In her arms, she clutched a leather-bound book that seemed to hum with a gentle warmth, as if it contained its own heartbeat. She'd discovered it 3 days ago, hidden behind a loose stone in the cellar wall. The spellbook was impossibly old, its pages gilt-edged and covered in handwriting that shifted between her grandmother's careful script and something far more ancient, symbols that seemed to rearrange themselves when she wasn't looking directly at them. Elara pushed open the back door and stepped into the garden, where morning mist clung to the rose bushes like gossamer veils. Dawn was the time her grandmother had always insisted was most powerful for magic, though Gran had passed 2 winters ago without ever revealing she'd been a witch. The girls settled onto the dew-dampened bench and opened the spellbook to the page marked with a pressed violet. The spell was titled simply "To Mend What Was Broken." She'd read it a dozen times, memorizing every word, every gesture. Today, finally, she would try. From her pocket, Elara withdrew a broken pocket watch. Her grandfather's, which had stopped ticking the day he died, 5 years before she was born. Her grandmother had kept it on the mantel, glancing at its frozen hands each morning, as if hoping time might reverse itself. Elara traced the spell's instructions with one finger, whispering the words written in silver ink that caught the growing light. The air around her began to shimmer. The garden held its breath. "Tempus mendum, spiritus revertans," she breathed, her voice barely audible over the awakening birdsong. She held the watch above the open book, and a soft blue light began to emanate from the pages, spiraling upward like luminescent smoke. The light wrapped around the watch, and Elara felt a strange tugging sensation in her chest, as if the spell was drawing on something deep within her, her memories, perhaps, or her love for the grandparents she'd lost. The watch grew warm in her palm. Then, with a delicate click, it began to tick. Elara gasped, tears springing to her eyes. The second hand swept smoothly around the face, steady and sure. But something else was happening. The blue light hadn't dissipated. It was spreading through the garden, touching each plant, each stone, each dewdrop. Everywhere the light touched, things changed. The rose bushes bloomed more vibrantly, their petals unfurling in shades her grandmother had spent years trying to cultivate. The old iron gate that had hung crooked for a decade straightened on its hinges. Sanctus. Even the cracks in the garden path began to knit themselves together like healing skin. And then Elara noticed the small sapling near the back fence, a young oak that had been struck by lightning last summer and stood blackened and dead.